passionate individuals, business owners, and industry leaders. I'm your host, Phil, and today I'm going to answer a bunch of questions, well, not a bunch, but some questions that I've been getting via the gram. That's Instagram for those that don't follow along with the lingo or who don't have social media. But before I start, I'm going to start my episode by saying, Red 33, Red 33, set, hot, hot, go. All right, and we're off. Some of those questions I get them from different people across the board, from Instagram, from emails. Sometimes I get them on YouTube. Not a lot on YouTube, but mainly Instagram. But the first one being, how can I work out at home with little to no equipment? All right, so that one's a little bit on the tricky side sometimes. It could be a little bit easy for those that don't follow along with exercise too much and understand human movement. But what we want to do is you want to practice your patterns. And what are your patterns? First one being the squat pattern. Again, the pattern is what something that just repeats itself. You're going to be repeating these the entire time you work out. The first one being the squat pattern. And I don't care if it's a box squat, a full goblet squat, a bar squat, a safety bar squat, a TRX squat, a front squat, whatever. Squat pattern is the squat pattern. So you have your squat pattern, then you have a horizontal push, horizontal pull, then you have a vertical push, a vertical pull, and then you have your hinge pattern, and then you would have a transitional. Any transitional would be anything from throwing to running, skipping, hopping, jumping, anything like that. So as when you pair those human movements together, you get a workout. And what's a workout? Anything from like 6 to 9 exercises. It doesn't have to be everything on the list that I mentioned, but as long as you pick 6 to 9 of them, usually on the sixth side, so you can overload them really, really well, you'll have something. And at home, I can give you a very simple format that you can follow. You're going to pick two of those human movements, pair them together, then you're going to give yourself a little bit of a break. And you're going to go back to those two human movements again, and then you're going to give yourself another break, and then you're going to do that one more time, and then you move on to something else. Usually, I give about 2 minutes every break period. That just sets you up for within your 40 minutes or your hour workout, whichever you're looking for. It's a perfect little template that you can use, and you can get some pretty dang good results out of it. But that is the best way to do it. You can just choose those exercises as such, pair them together, give yourself some type of 2 minute break, and then move on. And then just repeat that for your next workout or maybe a different day workout. So if you're doing that on a Monday, maybe you can repeat that on a Friday, or maybe repeat that next Monday. But make sure you're repeating that workout so your body can understand what you're doing. You can get your results that way. You don't get results by jumping from what we call program to program. You get your results by repeating the process, repeating that program for about a month, maybe 4 to 6 times in that month, and then moving on to something else. Uh, let's see. What easy meals can I make at home? And I like to go quick with high protein meals. So the easiest way you can do something for quick and easy, I just said that again. I'll get better at this, I promise. The easiest thing that you can do is batch cooking. And that's batch cooking is a little bit different than meal prepping. Meal prepping is you have the same meal every day for like 5 days. Batch cooking is you take your big protein source and you make that for multiple meals. And you pair that with different things. So it makes multiple meals. And the easiest way that I'll explain that is with ground beef. If you just cook a whole thing of ground beef and you store it in your container, you now have all that ground beef for spaghetti. You have it for beef tacos. You have it for eggs and beef. You have it for eggs or for beef and rice, beef and broccoli. And now you can create a bunch of different meals just with that. Okay, so if you take your ground beef and do that, you can do the same thing with chicken. You could do the same thing with ground turkey. And for some people, you can even do it for with salmon. Other people don't like to leave it in the fridge that long; they like to have it really fresh. So to each his own. But you can repeat that process and just make quick protein meals by just swapping things out. I said earlier that I like to have rice, so I usually have a bunch of rice made, and then you swap that out with your different veggies. So if you go rice with all those meals with your protein that you have, either your ground beef, your turkey, your chicken, or your salmon, you pair that with your rice and now pick a veggie. It could be your mixed veggie bag. It could be green beans. It can be broccoli. Right there in itself, there's 3 different ways that you can pair with your meals. And now you're just swapping your meals out. And the one rule, if I have any rules that I like to follow, would be 18 out of 21 meals be protein, veggies, or protein and fruit. If you follow that template, pair it with what I just talked about with the protein sources, with your rice source and with your veggie or your fruit source, you'll have something very, very easy to follow, very, very easy to put together, and you'll be very successful along the line. One, I really attribute that to my buddy Frankie Escobedo, who taught me about fitness just by following him over the years and how he makes his meals. And what he really does is he does that and he swaps out the sauces that he uses on it, and it makes the meal completely different. It's very easy to follow. The less you have to think about, the faster you can get it done, the faster you have your meal made for you, and just the less thinking you have. So I like to do that. Uh, Again, four different protein sources. And again, I just said rice, but you can use sweet potato, you can use regular potato, rice, brown rice, different beans. I like black beans. I grew up on black beans. Tend to have a little bit more fiber in them than like pinto beans. So I use that and I swap those all out at the same time, and it usually hits my macros very, very easily. I don't make it hard. All right, moving on. What podcast do I listen to? And I wrote about this in one of my blog articles. But the main one I listen to right now would probably be Andrew Coates. He's a good buddy of mine up in Edmonton, and his podcast has just been dynamite the last, I don't know, I think 10, 15 episodes that he put out. Some strong, strong industry leaders, uh, and I've just had a blast listening to them. Others that I listen to would be, let's see, Show Up Fitness. Chris Hitchko is always putting out some awesome information, awesome podcasts. My buddy Brian Fitzsimmons, my buddy Daniel Yores. Who else do I listen to? I recently started listening to more of Joey Munoz's podcast. The Joey Munoz Show, I believe, is what he calls it. I will be meeting him in person in Vegas at a ROMS event, which leads me to talking about a quick seminar. That would be a ROMS. That would be the Real Coaches Summit. I went to it last year thanks to Daniel Yores. And I went going back this year because that event was just dynamite across the board. I've talked about it before. I even put out a whole episode with the ROM. I call it one of the lost episodes. That was pretty insightful on why he created the event and why people like me go to it. Like-minded individuals are going to be there. We're going to interact with each other. And it's just a damn party within education across the board, I guess you can say. So being in the same room with people, who's going this year, my good friend Dr. Crystal Guevara is going to be there. Luca Hosever is going to be there. Just again, those two people alone, you're going to get a lot of value just being there. The price of admission is probably worth more than just being with those two alone. With everything Crystal's doing with RP and her own stuff and the information that she's coming out with Ozempic and all that fun stuff. And Luca Hosever is just a powerhouse in himself. His YouTube channel is just insane. Uh, Constantly putting out content on Instagram and YouTube. Like I said, his podcast is dynamite. His actually is another podcast that I listen to quite frequently. It's the Vigor Life podcast. So if you want to listen to that, please do. Any of the podcasts that I mentioned are always putting out great information. And part of being on Daniel's podcast and on Brian's podcast, it, it made me realize that I just really like interacting with people more than I thought I did. I tend to be more introverted now or in my later life, but it doesn't come across as that because I'm so extroverted when I'm at these events. I like to interact with people. So for those that don't know, I'm a bit of an ambivert. I like to be in between the line, and sometimes I just like people watching. Sometimes I'm the star of the show, but not always. I like to really, really watch people and see what they do now. I just like to take a back seat and just watch. It's fun. Uh, Current client spotlight right now. I'm going to talk about Ceci. Ceci came to me about a year ago now, and right before we started working out, she was going to have elbow surgery. So I had to be very creative in how I loaded her because she going to have some major cuts on her arm, and to her PT and doctor said not to load bit before her sessions and after her sessions. Sorry, my alarm just went off to when I started recording this, but figured I have some more time. Uh, so she came to me with going into elbow surgery, and she came to me wanting to grow her glutes. So I had to be very creative on how I loaded her so we wouldn't mess up her elbow. So we did different variations of squatting, different variations of hinging, using bands, really teaching her how to use her center of mass. So when she first started with me, she couldn't hip thrust anything because she'd never done the exercise. Again, brand new to working out. But now, we're repping, we're almost at the 200-pound club, I should say, about a year later. And it's going to be about 50 workouts. She only comes and sees me 2 times a week. So it's about 50 workouts. And that's all. We train glutes, and I do add a little pushing and pulling a little bit, but not a whole lot. Most of it is a lot of glute training. But I think her results are phenomenal. She's repping 185 right now. For I want to say it's about 8. I don't have her stats up right now. It's about 8, I believe. Um, Almost at the 200-pound club. I'm sure she's going to get there very, very soon. So, Sassy, thank you for being so consistent. You have been just a joy to be around. Talking about traveling is something that I really enjoy, having conversations with you with, and I look forward to having more of them with you in the future. All right. Talking about my current goal now. My current goal right now is just to get to Florida very safely next week. I'm going to be hanging out with Brad Schoenfeld, Brett Contreras, and Alan Aragon. It's going to be a damn good seminar. They don't do things very, very often together. It's from what they say, it's like reassembling the Avengers type of thing. For those that don't know, Brad Schoenfeld is probably the world's leading researcher in hypertrophy. He has the most research papers out to date. He works with everybody that's pretty prominent, from Mike Israetel to probably like Andy Galpin, and just a bunch of doctors. And he's just really well known in how your muscles grow, reps and sets, and just a bunch of on the technical side, on the nerdy side for stuff for people like me. So I get to hang out with him, meet him in person for the first time. I've sat in one seminar with him before, Show Up Fitness. Chris put on the 10-year anniversary, but we really didn't get to interact with him as much. He was actually on a TV. Uh, we had him reading a paper that he just came out with, so that was pretty cool. But again, I didn't get to interact with him, and this time I'm one of 50 in the room with him, and I get to interact with him very well, so that's pretty cool. And who else is going to be there would be, like I said, Brett Contreras, who just knows everything in the world about glutes. He's the world's leading glute researcher, and who understands the most about it. He's put out numerous papers with Dr. Brad Schoenfeld. And then Alan's really well known in nutrition. He has a couple books out. I actually haven't even read them yet, but I just know he's really well known in with nutrition. When I was going through nutrition courses with Show Up Fitness, and he was one of the person that just kept coming up, kept talking about. So I just started diving into more of his stuff that he does on YouTube, or not YouTube, excuse me, Instagram. And I really enjoy what he does. So I get to meet him in person there, and then I get to hang out with him again at a ROM's event and at the Real Coaches Summit in Vegas. He will be there as well. So I get a double dose of him. So getting to Florida is my goal right now. Very happy about that. It's happening next week from when I'm recording this. March 15th, I believe, is the date for that. Other personal goal within fitness is trying to get back up in my squatting currently right now. My personal goal for uh, amount of weight right now is 341, and I do want to get up to the 400-pound club for the first time ever in my life. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm thinking I should get there hopefully later this year if I do everything correctly. It's a huge jump in weight, but as long as I'm training correctly and implementing these rules of hypertrophy, I feel like I'll get there. I do have accountability group with Raul, Dave, and Tony, my buddies, my high school coaches that I've been coaching with for the past 20 years of my life, who are just big influences. They're constantly pushing us in our little group chat thing that we have going on. So that's pretty cool. What else am I looking forward to in my own personal life? Uh, Getting to the Real Coaches Summit is another big thing. Is a big seminar that I've talked about, and I continue to push and get other trainers to get there. It's just a life-changing event. The way Aram does it is just phenomenal. If you don't know, if you haven't heard about it, I did put out an episode with him I mentioned earlier. Please go check that out and share it with somebody, share it with the trainer that maybe they should get to, because it's just industry speakers that are coming together to show newer trainers like myself. I've been in the game forever. Yeah, I follow fitness, but I'm still learning things, and I continue to learn things and to get better at the craft. Uh, they continue to show us what they're learning, what they've learned, and they pass it on to us in a very educational manner. And I really, really like that. This year is going to be at Caesar's Palace, and that's going to be super fun. It's a very elegant upscale spot, so it's pretty cool. Um, so I really look forward to doing that. If you guys have questions or concerns, I'm going to end the episode right now because it's 15 with Phil. We're coming close to that time. But if you have any other questions, concerns, please reach out. I'll try to answer them and try to get more intelligent questions here. I don't want to keep answering the same ones because people answer them all the time, right? But, maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I should just answer them. I don't know. Who knows? I'm just rambling on at this point. But I try to answer as many questions as I can, either here on social media or on Instagram. But answer them, ask them away, and I'll answer them. So thank you very much for those who tuned in today. This was 15 with Phil on a solo episode. I'm going to upload this and hopefully it comes out later today. Have a good one, guys. Bye. I don't want to keep answering those. I want to, I want to make it